Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Books, Girls, and Purrs. My name is Leslie, and today we're going to discuss my summer TBR, which is just my anticipated reads and debut novels. All right, so I've discussed this book a couple of times, but I'm just finally glad to actually get to it. I'm not really one that gravitates towards fantasy. And so there's a couple of reasons why I picked up this book. So Let Them Burn by Camilla Cole. I mean, this cover is just absolutely beautiful. Um, so yeah, just a saturation of color really grabbed at me. This does happen to be one of the authors that was review bombed with a bunch of fake accounts. So that's another reason to read their work. But honestly, it was a mix of the cover, um, the fact that the author is Jamaican American, and in February, I read from an author that's Jamaican British, and oh, that was Rainbow Milk, and so I do find it kind of interesting that that was Rainbow Milk, and this cover. I mean, this is kind of the embodiment in a way of Rainbow Milk, right? um, anyways, I digress. This is also fantasy. Um, I don't gravitate towards fantasy, so that was another reason to read this. And on top of it, there's a dragon. There's a dragon involved. So I'll be picking this up, and I'll just read really quick, just like the first and second paragraph. It says, "There is nothing that Farron won't do for her sister. Farron Vincent can channel the power of the gods. 5 years ago, she used her divine magic to liberate her island from its enemies, the dragon riding languish empire. But now at 17, Farron is all powered up with no wars to fight. She's a legend to her people and a nuisance to her neighbors. When she's forced to attend an international peace summit, Farron expects that she will perform tricks like a trained pet and then go home. She doesn't expect her older sister, Alara, forming an unprecedented bond with an enemy dragon, or the gods claiming that the only way to break this bond is to kill her sister." So I like the idea that this story involves a family at its center, it seems like, but on top of it, kind of knowing that it's about an island that has worked towards decolonizing itself with an empire falling apart. It sounds like I could see where the elements of Jamaica's history coming into play, and so yeah, this definitely intrigues me with all those different elements. So this is my one of my anticipated reads, and I'm popping into it this summer. My second anticipated read, which I've also spoken about before, is Womb City. Look at this beautiful red cover. I have another red cover in the stack that I'll be talking about. But this is another book where I saw the cover. Oh, you know what it was? It was Sistah Scifi. Sistah Scifi, which is, they don't have a brick and mortar. They're like a bookstore, but virtually. And they also have vending machines in a couple of different states that had this book. Either way, this is a feature. I watched an interview with the author, and I attended what do you call it? Like a talk with the author about their book, and a talk and signing at my local bookstore. And so, yeah, the cover alone got me. I mean, the illustrator of this cover, I need to look them up because I want to follow their work. So on the inside, it says, "An adrenaline-packed cyberpunk body-hopping Afrofuturist ghost story exploring motherhood, memory, and a woman's right to her own body." So that alone grabs at me. I do like, not all science fiction, but science fiction does intrigue me. And I want to say, if it wasn't earlier than this year, maybe it was last year, I read an anthology series that was called Octavia's Brood, and that was a science fiction anthology that focused, I believe, like on, for instance, like social injustices, and was just really kind of like in the vein of Octavia Butler's work. And so that's definitely the type of like science fiction that I gravitate towards. So this is like right up my alley. And so it goes on to say, Nella seems to have it all: fame, wealth, and a long awaited daughter growing in a government lab. but trapped in a loveless marriage and monitored by microchip. Her perfect life is precarious. After an eerie car accident, Nella commits a desperate crime and buries the body, daring to hope that she can keep one last secret. So, yes, this grabs me. I mean, I would go so far as to say if this was like a poster, I'd buy it. I just love this. Um, Something that the host of the event that I attended, the person that was interviewing the author, said is that when they read this, they're like this cinematic sensibility to it. And that's, I wasn't really going to buy it, but that really grabbed me too. So yeah, I look forward to reading this. And there's so many great authors that like mention praise for the book. So this is going to be a summer read for me. All right. So the next book was not on my anticipated list, but it should have been because this author is an auto buy for me. This author is my author crush. And you got it. It's Hanif Abdurraqib's There's Always This Year on Basketball and Ascension. This author, every time he writes about a subject, whether it's music criticism, social criticism, poetry that carries like that nostalgic sensibility that only Abdurraqib can do, he brings his life experience. He brings like uh, the enthralling experience and the engagement and the commentary in a way that no other author can do. So, do I watch basketball? No, but if Hanif Abdurraqib is going to write about basketball, I'm going to read the whole thing. All right. So on the inside, it says, growing up in Columbus, Ohio in the 1990s, Hanif Abdurraqib witnessed a golden era of basketball, one in which legends like LeBron James were forged and countless others weren't. His lifelong love of the game leads Abdurraqib into a lyrical, historical, and emotionally rich exploration of what it means to make it, who we think deserves success, the tension between excellence and expectation, and the very notion of role models, all of which he expertly weaves together with intimate personal storytelling. Here is where I would like to tell you about the form of my father's jump shot, Abdurraqib writes. The truth, though, is that I saw my father shoot a basketball only one time. As always, this year is a triumph, brimming with joy, pain, solidarity, comfort, outrage, and hope. No matter the subject of his keen focus, whether it's basketball or music or performance, Hanif Abdurraqib's exquisite writing is always poetry, always profound, and always a clarion call to radically reimagine how we think about our culture, our country, and our lives. And that is such a great way to capture the way that the author writes. And if that doesn't grab you, I don't know what I will, because I love this man's writing. So that will also be a summer read for me. All right. So the last book this was not an anticipated read, but my local bookstore, Village Well, posted about the author providing some signed copies, and the cover just really took my breath away. Made me want to run out the door and buy a copy, which I did. And I also saw a couple of interviews with the author, and now I follow them on Instagram because I want to see what else they're up to because they're actually very accomplished, and now I'm interested in anything that they do. And that's Promised Boys by Nick Brooks. This cover alone is another red cover. The red saturation of covers is like really grabbing me. I love that it's also not just a saturation of the red, but it's like that color block of like gray, silver, and red tones that really stand out. Oh my goodness. This is going to be my first venture into dark academia. That definitely seems to be like a genre that's been bubbling up over the years and that I'm not really familiar with. There's definitely other books that I'm intrigued by, but this is the first one that I saw that and heard about that I was just thought, okay, I want to read this. And so on the inside it says, murder wasn't a part of the plan. The Urban Promise Prep School vows to turn boys into men. As students, JB, Ramon, and Trey are forced to follow the prestigious program's strict rules. Extreme discipline, they've been told, is what it takes to be college bound to avoid the fates of many men in their neighborhoods. This, the Principal Moore method, supposedly saves lives. But when Moore ends up murdered and the cops come sniffing around, the trio emerges as a case's prime suspects. With all three maintaining their innocence, they must band together to track down the real killers before they are arrested. But is the true culprit hiding among them? And you know what intrigues me about like this, the synopsis on the sleeve is that it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that dark academia is basically like reading the genre of noir, but in an academic setting. That's kind of what I'm getting. That's a vibe that I'm vibing on. And so, yeah, I want to read that, but I also want to read about the author on the back because I'm not familiar with the author, but they're like so accomplished. And so it says Nick Brooks is an author and award-winning filmmaker from Washington, D.C. He is a 2020 graduate of USC's TV and film production program. His short film, Hoop Dreamin', earned him the George Lucas Scholar Award and was a finalist in the Forbes 30 Under 30 Film Fest. He is currently in development for his first feature film, We Were Born Kings. Before becoming a filmmaker, Nick was an educator working with at-risk youth, and many of his stories are colored by his experiences with the children and families of his community. He is also the author of Nothing Interesting Ever Happens to Ethan Fairman. Follow Nick at Twitter. It says all this other stuff. But yeah, incredible. So yeah, I'm gonna be reading this for the summer. I love these two red covers. Let's look at these. Yes. I don't know anything about color theory, but someone's got to be like praising this. All right. So those are all the books that are basically hard set summer TBR. Must reads for me. It's going to get done. But what I will say is I have two other books that are like tentative. If I have the time to read them, I will. If not, I kind of want to save them for like projects at a different time if I'm actually being realistic about the time constraint that I have. But let's talk about them. All right. The first one is Something Kindred by Sierra Birch. I picked this up from Octavia's bookshelf. It was right next to the new edition of Kindred, which is a YA edition. And if you could see, I'm pretty sure, can you see the two hands there? The what do you call it? The cover itself is matte, but there's this like translucent gloss of two hands framing the woman in the front that I thought was really cool. And it says, everyone leaves sometimes. It's a coming back that matters. And in the front it says, some lives never let you go. And on the inside it says, welcome to Coldwater. Come for the ghosts, stay for the drama. There are only two things 17-year-old Jerica knows about her estranged grandmother, her name, and that she abandoned Jerica's mom and uncle when they were kids. But now that her grandmother is dying, Jerica is dragged to middle of nowhere Coldwater, Maryland to say goodbye. I don't want to say any more than that. The rest of it is very intriguing. But what also had me kind of get a feeling to myself recently when I was reading the back of this is that the author also likes playing Dungeons and Dragons, and goes on to say she lives in Washington, D.C. with her plants, her stuffed animals, and far too many books. And you know what? If there's an author that's going to say that they have plants, stuffed animals, and far too many books, I feel like they're a kindred spirit for me, and I'm going to read whatever they write. But can you see it? That's so cool. I just thought that was such a clever cover. So that's a soft TBR. And my, heart, I want to read this right away, but if I can't, it's no biggie. Also, it's YA, and I feel like this is right up my daughter's alley as well, being something that she would like to read. And so this is probably going to be a summer read for her. The other book is also YA, It's Blood at the Root by Ladarian Williams. And like the short pitch to get to what this is that I've heard the author say is what if Harry Potter went to an HBCU? And so that intrigued me. And also, to be honest, I enjoy the story of how the author just believed in themselves. And even though like they were getting a lot of no's as far as um, not just even making this a book, I think they dreamed more for this than a book, like maybe a film. So there are a lot of like closed doors, but the author just wrote it anyways. And I think that's pretty cool. And actually, they were thinking about independently publishing this, but a friend of them talked them into like putting out there and seeing if um, they could go like the traditional publishing route, and they got a really great chance. And I'm happy that they got the deal that I'm assuming that they wanted, because they got like I think it's gonna be like a trilogy. They got like a 3-book deal. So this is the first book. Um, Even before I go into talking about this, is that I was just chatting with someone else in a on a sprint, and they said that they read this, they didn't really like it. So whenever I get to my review, I will, if I do like this, I will definitely add a link to maybe their review as kind of like an opposing view, because I'm always interested to hear what everyone else thinks about a book, whether we agree or not. So on the inside, it says, 10 years ago, Malik's life changed forever. The night his mother mysteriously vanished and he discovered he had uncontrollable powers. Since then, he has kept his abilities hidden, looking out for himself and his younger foster brother, Tay. Now at 17, Malik is finally ready to start a new life for both of them. Far from the trauma of his past, however, a daring act to rescue Tay reveals an unexpected connection with his long-lost grandmother, a legendary conjurer with ties to a hidden magical universe that Malik's mother attended. And you know what? As I just finished reading that, I just realized there are some connective tissues as far as Blood and the Root and something kindred, and that is the younger generations maybe coming in contact or finding connection to their grandparents, um, specifically their grandmother. And you know what? That's an interesting pairing. So if I can, I love to add those as like a soft TBR for my summer reads. But if I can't, hey, it's okay. There's always next time. There's more projects to take on. I already have like all these different ideas for next year, and we're basically in the middle of 2024, with also feeling like I'm not meeting my goals at all, and yet I can't help but start planning ahead. So yeah, with that said, this would be the ideal. I'm stacking them up of what I would like to be able to get to, but will I? I don't know. Summer is here. Could I bounce it? So this is what my summer reads might look like. Wish me luck. Let me know what you're reading this summer. I'm also kicking this off a little bit late, but I needed room to finish a couple of other projects, as you well know. But yeah, so for anyone that has recently subscribed, thank you for being here. For my ride or dies, my long-term subscribers, thank you for following me on this reading journey. And for anyone that's been watching my reviews with Interview the Vampire, thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for your engagement. I love with such a passion the Vampire Chronicles, and to live in a time where I could just going back and forth with all my like crazy banana theories for the show is just a really beautiful experience. So yeah, anyways, please subscribe, like, and I'll see you in the chat.